Welcome everybody to this month's Backstage community meeting. Today we've got quite a few demos. We've got a spotlight around plugins and contributors, and a few announcements to make. So we'll start out with the news and announcements. Then we're going to drop into some demos. We've got demos around a GitLab plugin from FireHydrant and Expedia today. So in a few brief kind of updates, to start out with, last week, just to share in case you didn't see, we submitted our PR proposal for Backstage joining incubation. So you can see the PR up on the CNCF's against the CNCF repo. We'll drop it into chat as well, so you can see the link. But that process has now started. We expect it's going to take a little bit of time as we kind of work through that process, but you can follow all the updates and everything on that PR and see what's happening next. So that was the first thing. The second update that we have is around these meetings themselves. You may have seen in recent past that we posted a blog post around starting a contributor-specific meeting and an adopter-specific meeting. So we're starting that process. From October, this community meeting that we're in right now will switch to be the adopter sessions. And that's where, much like what we do today, we invite everybody to come and share the challenges, the learnings, the use cases you're facing, and kind of get that opportunity to meet and chat with other adopters and learn more and share. And then we're also going to follow that with a contributor session. The contributor session you'll see come on the calendar. It'll be the day after. So in 4 weeks' time, when we have the adopter session in this slot, the Thursday right after, you'll see there's a contributor session. The contributor sessions, basically, we're inviting you to share your thoughts, suggestions, and gaps in the Backstage core with the maintainers and the reviewers. So it's an opportunity to get a little bit more technical. It's an opportunity to kind of dive deeper into some of those specific use cases that you might be tackling. But we hope in having both these two sessions, the adopter session and the contributor session, it gives enough space for everybody to be able to share and see and demo all of the things that you'll want to. So keep your eyes on the calendar for that update. More information, I'm sure, we'll share as we get closer to the time. And if we can dig out the blog post link, I'll have a look as we go through the demos and drop it in chat. Then you can see back to the full blog post for more information. And the third little bit of update that I want to share, if my computer will stop hanging. Sorry, everything froze there. Okay. So we have a survey that we want to share with everybody. So right now we're working on creating content to support Backstage. And with that content, we want to share what problems Backstage can solve for your organizations more deeply, and explain the benefits of a developer portal like Backstage, and help you along with the kind of Backstage setup and deployment within organizations. The primary goal of it all is to clearly outline the first steps in getting up and running with Backstage. We've got some ideas how we can take this forward, but we really want to hear from the community. We really want to hear from everybody here. So we'll drop a short survey link into the chat, and we'd really appreciate it if you do have the time to jump in there and share your ideas, share your thoughts on how we could better help in that domain. Okay. Short and sweet on the news and announcements. I'm going to jump straight to the demos. As mentioned, we've got 3 demos for you today that people want to share, or presentations demos. The first one was the one with the most votes. I'm just checking, is from Satish, and it's around the GitLab plugin for Backstage. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Okay, so over to you, Himanshu. If you can enable co-host for him, and yeah, over to you.
Yeah. So we are representing Loblaw. So Loblaw is a retail food chain in Canada. So we have around like 2,400 stores across Canada, and we are into apparel, pharmacies, and other multiple chains as well. So basically, we are a GitLab user, so we thought like we try to get a GitLab plugin so that it will be beneficial for everyone who is using GitLab in their organization. So basically, we are pretty new to React and TypeScript, so we just started with it. And yeah, so we got some ideas from Rodi, so thanks to them as well. So we just saw their plugin, how they have designed it. So we just take some insight from them. And yeah, so basically this is our GitLab plugin, so where it is able to show the contributors, the languages, what has been used on the particular project. And this one we are deriving the merge request statistics like merge versus total MRs. So it shows like how much time it takes for a particular or average time it takes for an MR to get merged, and how much time like how much percentage of the MRs are still kept open compared to the closed ones. So and here we show the pipeline status. So if you have using a GitLab CI, and it shows you the GitLab pipeline status, the success or fail or running status, and who triggered it and whatnot. And basically, we remove the action from here because since we are since in Backstage we don't have the RBAC yet, we don't want anybody to trigger anybody else pipeline, so we just disabled it for now. But yeah, eventually we can have action plugin. If suppose something is failed here, we can just try to rerun it from here. That's the idea behind it. And this is the list where it shows all the MRs for a given project. So basically how this all works is like you have this annotation. So you have this annotation with the project ID. So basically if you are using GitLab, you just need to provide your GitLab project ID, and then you need to, in the app config, you need to provide your access token, or either a project access token or a group access token, which can get these project information. So basically, you just need to create a API token with the scope read API. That way, it will be able to call your GitLab and then GitLab project, and then fetch all those information from your from this GitLab project. Yeah, so pretty much that's about it. So we just released like 2-3 weeks back, and so far like we got like good response. So 600 people have just downloaded it, and pretty much like every week we are trying to make some release so that so that we can keep pushing all the changes whatever we think about it. And like a lot more people are coming and showing interest and then raising issues, and already started raising issues and supporting with the pull requests. So yeah, thanks to them as well. So yeah, if you have any feature in mind which you want to bring in within our plugin, so yeah, please feel free to raise any issues or contribute to us with the PR. Let us know like if you have any questions around this.
So firstly, thank you for sharing this, Satish. This looks awesome. I'm kind of curious. I have maybe a very generic question or a very broad question. But like in the process of putting this plugin together, is there anything that kind of stood out that was like a challenge in creating the plugin, or was there anything that stood out as like super easy to do as you were going through like the overall process of it?
Yeah, so we pretty much know about GitLab APIs. So, and then it was our first plugin. So we just follow the Backstage documentation on how to create a basic plugin. And then from there we started it. And that's what I said. That we took some reference with Rodi. So Rodi has some plugin similar to this with GitHub. And yeah.
Cool. We have a question that's come up in chat. basically, is the GitLab plugin essentially feature parity with the GitHub plugin? I don't know. I personally don't know the full extent of the GitHub plugin. I don't know about you, Satish.
I'm not clear about this question. So basically, you're saying like if you're hosting a self-hosted a GitLab, that's what you're asking about, Alan?
So we use GitLab Enterprise here, and I've noticed the GitHub support in Backstage is much more fully baked, includes support for pipelines and all those other integrations. And it would be great to see GitLab get to that level. And it looks like a lot of what you're doing might be very much the same thing, GitLab flavored. So I was just wondering if that was the case.
So you are using a self-hosted GitLab at your organization?
Yes.
Yeah, so we also use a self-host. We don't use GitLab.com. So eventually we can replicate the same thing with either self-hosted or with GitLab.com.
Yeah.
So basically you just need to get the token there.
Yeah, so this is Bala, Alan. So basically, we are actually trying to, add as many as features with parity from GitHub as well. So the basic idea was to have, summarized view of what we have in GitHub. What Satish mentioned is that like when we were looking at having the GitLab data for the plugin, we were also looking at GitHub, but we do understand your point, right? So we will eventually have a path forward where we will have almost similar data and similar features that we have in GitHub, whatever that we can kind of pull in and in the way that GitLab APIs are and a few more things, right? So absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, I think just an observation for the core team is looking at the integration code for GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and the weird Microsoft one. They're all essentially Git repos. They all have some kind of CI/CD, integration. And frankly, there's a lot of code that's cut and paste copied between them. And so I think there's an opportunity to kind of maybe standardize on here's how to do a Git repo. And these are just flavors of them. So that, clearly it's clear that Spotify uses GitHub because that's the most fully baked implementation right now. And it'll be great to see that kind of consistency across the different, Git repo backends as well, because they're functionally largely equivalent because everyone's trying to make their thing look like GitHub since it's the 800-pound gorilla.
So yeah, so already there is a GitLab integration, right? So if you have a project and if you have the catalog in your GitLab, you can still register from GitLab. Pretty much like whatever they have today with GitHub, it's there already with GitLab. Like if you want to do a GitLab authentication, you can still do it. And if you want to have an integration with the GitLab, like if your software catalog, if you have it on your GitLab, you can still register those entities from there too.
Can maybe chime in from the core team as well that yeah, we're very much aware. We are indeed using GitHub. We do a lot of work to try to unify wherever we can, right? So we have, for example, the URL readers in the backend and so on. But yeah, there's plenty more work to be done. We have some upcoming changes to authentication to unify the authentication a bit. And then on top of that, we'll hopefully be able to build some utilities that kind of operate the same way towards all of them. Whenever we can do Git repo access directly, we do that. So yep, continuous development.
Thank you, Patrick.
So we have added the plugin to Backstage Marketplace. If you want to try it out, you can just go to backstage.io/plugins, and then you can look for GitLab. And then from here, you can just go to the actual code repository to find the instructions on how to enable GitLab for your Backstage. Yeah, thanks to everyone.
Fantastic. And I can see just before you kind of wrap up, Satish, there's one other question that came up from Finn in chat. So obviously you've talked a little bit there about feature parity. The question from Finn was, can you share some of the new features for this plugin that you're planning to release in the near future? I suppose, do you have like, what are the next things coming?
Yeah, sure. So basically the thing is right now we are just capturing only the MR statistics. So we are not capturing any deployment frequency statistics. So we are trying to showcase deployment frequencies, basically like how frequent they are deploying to their production, and maybe basically success failure ratio, as well as how much time it takes, like average time it takes for a build to get to production. Yeah. And yeah, we are trying to make some changes to the visuals as well as to make it more like a chart or graph based to show the build time and those stuffs. Yeah, that's on our roadmap.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Satish. This has been awesome to see.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Great stuff. Okay, we're going to move on to our next demo. So this is from FireHydrant. And is it Sheila who's going to be presenting? Have I got that right?
Sheila is our salesperson for this, but I'm Christine and I'll be presenting today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so hi everyone. Are you able to see my screen? Great, okay. My name's Christine. I'm a front-end developer here at FireHydrant. This demo will be demoing our FireHydrant plugin that just recently got released. This will be less about using FireHydrant and a little bit more about how this works in Backstage. So the way this works is I have this running locally and I have the Backstage catalog of services here. So let's look at a service. All right, so we're looking at the playback order service, and what our front-end plugin here does is it brings incident management and analytics into Backstage from FireHydrant directly. So immediately we can see we have 2 active incidents on this service. There's some things we can do real quick. So one thing we can do is to be able to view these services in FireHydrant directly. So now we're in the FireHydrant app, but we can see details of the 2 active incidents. And you can also see all past incidents for this service. All right, we can also view the incidents directly in here, and clicking on these will link you to FireHydrant as well. And this takes you to our incident page, so you can see all information about this incident, from impact to assigned roles, to tasks, milestones, and all the details. We also provide some quick links. So in general, maybe from any service page, you're still able to declare an incident. I'm just going to open up these tabs real quick. So this takes you to our form to declare an incident. I won't go through that now, but it is possible. You're also able to view all incidents, not just for this one service, but maybe for your entire organization. So our demo org has a lot of active incidents going on right now. And lastly, you can also view the service details within FireHydrant directly. So the way this works with Backstage is we have ingested inside FireHydrant our Backstage services. We can still view and enter new information about the service here. But it comes straight from the Backstage catalog entity YAML files. The last thing I want to highlight here is the incident analytics. So within FireHydrant, we do have much more comprehensive analytics for, everything besides this one single service. But we do provide simple metrics like service healthiness within the past 30 days, total amount of time impacted, total number of incidents. So for playback order, we have 3. As we saw, we have 2 active ones and 1 resolved one for a total of 3. And some standard incident metrics like mean time to information like mean time to detect, mean time to acknowledge, mitigate, and resolve. Excuse me. That's a quick overview. I can just quickly show you another example of maybe a Backstage service that lives in FireHydrant. Let's see, maybe searchers one. Yeah, and there are no active incidents. So the same interface, but this is a very happy case. We want 0 incidents ideally. And one last example of maybe a Backstage service that doesn't exist in FireHydrant yet. So we could still do some generic actions here. So that's a quick overview. In terms of setting it up, it's pretty standard with the other front-end plugins here at Backstage. So we have ours injected right into the entity page for the service, and some simple configuration in the app config where you would take a bot token generated through our site and you just plop it in and it should be up and running. Yeah, that was it. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have some teammates in here that's happy to answer as well.
That's amazing. Thank you for demoing that. And on the theme of amazing, the first question I've got came from Tim. Why is it, I can't even say it with a straight face now, why is this demo always on fire? Is the first question from Tim.
That's a great question. I don't know if I have an answer.
Quickly followed up, a question from Gary. Is an incident always connected to one service?
Oh, that's a good question. An incident can be connected to a number of things, including a service. Happy if anyone else from FireHydrant wants to answer that.
Yeah, I can jump in. I'm John Paul. I'm one of the devs that works with Christine here. And in a nutshell, without getting too deep into the product side, because is it really what this is about? There's a concept called functionalities that map services together. And that's sort of how you get the many-to-many between services, or the one-to-many between incidents and services. So functionalities is one of the ways to do that. We've got a couple of other concepts that help map that too. But yeah, that's basically the gist, if that answers your question.
Okay. Next question comes from Vladimir. How does the catalog integration work?
Yeah, that's also a great question, and it's a new feature. Also, anyone from FireHydrant, feel free to jump in. But the way this works is within FireHydrant, we do have this tool. I can show that real quick. So for a quick way to import your Backstage catalogs, we do have something through the UI. We also are able to support through an API endpoint for you to, for us to ingest all your catalog information. So ideally, you would do that through the UI or through the API. And here's an example catalog that I have used to ingest all my Backstage services. Happy to give you more details, probably outside this call. Great, thanks so much for letting us demo.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Okay, and for our third demo, I want to hand over to Expedia. I believe you've got something around search you want to share.
Yes, thank you. We're really excited to present search today. Just going to quickly share my screen here. All right, so thanks, Lee. My name is Sneha Kumar. I lead product for our developer experience team at Expedia Group, along with Mike and Carrie, who you might have seen on other calls. And within that, part of our charter is to focus on a couple of key capabilities, developer front door, as well as chat ops workflow enhancement. And so with that, we've loved our partnership with you all so far. And today we wanted to focus our time demoing new functionality inspired by what we saw happening on Spotify's internal implementation for Backstage. We saw some early design prototypes for a search modal POC that would help connect the dots between searching across multiple content types. And since search is, of course, the #1 used feature within Backstage, at least for us at Expedia Group, we thought it would make total sense to continue to invest. And as we've gone through the evolution of some initial test and learn on our proof of concept, we've decided that in our Q4 roadmap, we would like to work with you all to get some feedback on this and contribute it back to open source. Just a quick slide here before I hand off to Rod to demo the search and Catherine to go through a quick video on our design. What is our problem or job to be done that we're solving for is that Backstage users currently are unable to search with these across different content types in Backstage. So what we mean by that is that search exists in multiple locations, and there's no way to get some quick summary details about what your search results would look like. And we tend to tie our roadmap items back to what we call jobs to be done. So in this case, our job to be done here is, as a developer, I want to intuitively search to discover EG platform content quickly. So we believe that this proof of concept would provide an easy way to view and filter results across multiple content types. And you'll see in the demo that Rod will present that we have kept this proof of concept behind Backstage's feature flag setting. And the premise of it is that the Backstage search modal, much like Spotlight search, if you're a Mac user, kind of lives with you and follows you along as you go from section to section of Backstage. And a modal would be able to pop up, allowing filtering and quick results for your search, complete with pagination. And that counts are provided for your content types. So what we mean there is if you enter a keyword, you would see the counts associated with those mentions in the full contents. Just very quickly on some notes and limitations and callouts. We currently have a modal, but what we wanted the partner community feedback on was, hey, we now have a working prototype for displaying quick results, but how do we look at customized full results by category filter? So as you watch this demo and our design video, we'd love to get some feedback on a user goes and uses the modal to get some quick search results. Maybe it's the most relevant, maybe it's just summary view of those results tied to a keyword. And then do they go back to the catalog to view the full results with all of the attributes and details you might need for a search result? Or would they stay within the modal and have some customization within category filters? So hopefully this will make more sense to you as you look at this demo, but that's where we'd love some feedback. And then separately, as you look at these category filters, is there any other customization in terms of the filters that are relevant for you and your teams, right? Like our approach right now, we try to stay as agnostic to our company, but of course we do have some ways that we organize our platform content that might be different than what you have. So I would love some feedback on that so that whatever we contribute works for as many use cases as possible. And then finally, just a very quick review of where we wanted to go in Q4. As I mentioned, we wanted to contribute the search modal to open source. Prior to doing that, we wanted to integrate TechDocs and tools into this search modal POC, any feedback from the partner community. And we're also investing in some metrics instrumentation that helps us do some funnel reporting even before the clicks on search so that we can understand where there might be failed keyword searches before going into user-driven clicks. And with that, I'll hand off to Rod to demo.
All right, I am going to share my screen here. We currently have this modal living behind a feature flag, and we are able to get to it from any of our pages. So we've mapped it to the search icon over here in the left. And so whenever I click on that, it comes up and it starts searching immediately. If you put in nonsense or something that doesn't get any returns, which I guess we have things that still will because of that. All right. Wow, books has got every thing in there. Anyway, we have a custom error page. There we go. That has come in there. That's something to think about in terms of letting people customize this for their own uses. I can escape to get out of it. I can also click off of it to get out of it. But if I were to go in here, we have a pet store is a sample component we have in our test environment. You can see that here. You can also see what we have are filter chips that come up based on the search results. They come up with counts of the different entity kinds. And right now we just have APIs, components, and also we have templates. There is no pet store template, so that's not coming up. I can choose one of these or multiple. I can also unselect them as I go. And then you also notice here that we have our pagination at the bottom of the page, and we're returning 5 results for each one. Of course, that would also be customizable. And then whenever I click from here, I can go straight to my component. And then if I wanted to search again, I get right back here. So like I said, this is currently behind a feature flag. We built this for our internal use, but we're really interested in seeing what sort of features the larger community would like so that we could make this a reusable UI component for everyone inside the Backstage community. With that, I think I'll have Catherine take over, and she's going to talk a little bit about sort of future plans that we have, some additional ideas of what we might do from here. And we're looking forward to contributing this.
Hi, my name is Catherine Hubert, and I'm a UX designer on the Expedia Group Backstage team. I'm presenting our Figma design prototype for our POC search modal. In the search modal, we are greeted with 9 filter chips to browse through. The filters display the category name and the return values within that category. For example, there are 395 APIs and well over 23,000 services. If I click on APIs, I'll see that the results are listed by kind, name, description, and all of the other information we typically see in our table view. Suppose I click on services and I type in cars. In that case, I see filtered results of services with the tags of cars. Alternatively, if nothing is selected, no filtered chips are present, I can type in cars, and it will auto-magically return results in all categories that have cars associated with them. So in this case, we still see the 161 services that we saw in the pre-filtered service option. Here we can sort through them, we can page through the options, and we can also sort by most relevant, sort A to Z, Z to A, and newest. We are exploring other design solutions that would allow for browsing and full results, but this is what we've considered for now. Thank you.
Sure, I think we can take some Q&A now. Like I mentioned, just because I know I made the call at the beginning of the session and now you've seen the content, we'd love to get some feedback from the community on what happens when you have the search result, but you want to see more detail about the search result, right? Because what we showed was a summary view. Do you go back to the catalog? Do you stay within the search modal and actually incorporate that catalog view into a category filter? So if I click on tools or I click on APIs, I might see more details for that information. Would love your feedback on how that search modal coexists with other catalog search or other search methods, or actually becomes the search option over time.
I can see a lot of great work. This is beautiful. Lots of awesome comments coming through. From Adam, we've got a big fan of the chips. Sort of prefer that over the drop down, so I can see them as long as there aren't too many, or they can be scrolled horizontally or something. Johan has asked a question. How do users give feedback?
That's actually kind of what we wanted to find out from you. Like, what's the best way to go about this? Like, obviously, we're going to open an issue for this, and I suppose maybe an issue is where we can have some back and forth. Of course, if anybody has something immediately right now, we'd love to hear it. But this is our first time contributing something that we have ideas, but we would love more to make sure that this satisfies the largest swath of people within the Backstage community. Yeah, and I see one here about extending this to TechDocs. Absolutely, we've sort of limited it on our current implementation to just certain entity kinds, because we have a separate TechDocs indexer that we've been using from the beginning, but we want to look into bringing that into the V1 global search that's been released, and try to sync those up. But that's really something on our end. The idea here would be that this modal would work with whatever backend that you are using from Backstage and return results from there. So if you've got TechDocs being loaded, if you have Stack Overflow, like we saw that awesome demo in the community meeting a couple of times ago, whatever it is you could have as part of this search, and how we display that, how much customization we want to offer, that's something we might want to get some feedback as we go forward.
There's a question here as well, Rod, from Michael. Can I resume a search if I click into one of the items?
That's a good question. Should you, would you want your search to persist in sort of a local storage, so when you came back to it, you keep going? That's a really good call out. I can imagine that being a useful feature.
Okay, thank you, Sneha. Thank you, Rod, for an awesome demo. This is really cool to see. I love that you're bringing it into a GitHub issue and kind of trying to get as much feedback and input from the community. It's a really awesome example of how to do it. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome. Okay, so that kind of brings us to a close of the demo portion, if you will, of today's community session. Up next, I want to hand it quickly across to Eric, who's got some TechDocs updates. And then we're going to jump into our spotlight section. And then I think we'll end on a few questions that have come up in the GitHub issue. So Eric, over to you. I can't say that. TechDoc updates.
Thank you, Lee, and thanks everyone for the amazing demos. I'm super impressed, and it's always exciting to see what everyone's working on. I'll keep it short and sweet. We stealthily released TechDocs in beta a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations, thanks everyone who contributed to that. It was a huge community effort. There'll be a blog post coming out soon. Sign up for the newsletter to get notification about that for the full details. But essentially, if you've sort of been holding off for trying out TechDocs, we're solid on a whole bunch of integrations with storage providers, Git source control providers and stuff like that. We've quashed a lot of bugs. We've got some really great features. So keep an eye out for full details in a blog post soon. But otherwise, congrats and give it a shot.
Nice. Thanks, Eric. Okay, over to, I'm just going to share my screen. So a couple of spotlights that we've got a plugin spotlight and a contributor spotlight to share today. It's just a little bit of appreciation and kind of celebration of the things that are happening out in the community, and something that we're hoping to continue each month. So on the plugin side, for plugin spotlight today, something you've seen earlier today, we wanted to just shine that light again on FireHydrant and the awesome work that they've been doing on that plugin there. Really good to see the deep integrations with the catalog and how it acts within Backstage and the awesome things that it's going to unlock for you. So really well done, guys. It's been awesome to see that come along and awesome to see it demo today. So well done. And over to a contributor spotlight, I actually want to hand over to our maintainers to just highlight this one a little bit. Over to you guys.
Sure, thank you. So for this month's contributor spotlight, it's someone that has been a long-time contributor. Recently did some awesome work on Elasticsearch for search and in context search for TechDocs. And it is Jussi Hallila, also known as Santier. So if you are here and want to say hello, now is a chance.
Good day all. Thank you. Thank you for the mention. Very happy.
Nice, nice. Awesome, you say. Awesome. Okay. So that was the two spotlights that we wanted to share today. I am going to switch windows now to our GitHub issue and pull this so I can see it. So to wrap up, we have about 15 minutes left on the community session today. And just down at the bottom of the issue here, we had a few kind of questions and thoughts and things people wanted to really hear about. Make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so the first one came up from Pete here. Pete Jespers, love to hear more thoughts you have on the timeline for implementing RBAC. We're on the verge of needing to make a decision as to whether we roll our own in the next couple of months. Won't be able to make the session today, unfortunately. Looking forward to watching the recording. Okay, so for everybody that's here and also that recording for Pete, I wonder if we have Helen or Austin or someone there that could maybe give a little update around our current thinking on RBAC.
Yeah, I can do that. Hi, Pete. This is a new experience for me. I hope you're enjoying this recording wherever you are, whatever time it is in the future. Yes, in terms of RBAC itself, there's kind of two pieces of it. One is sort of an underlying like authorization framework that's hooked in with basically all the core features of Backstage. And then the other is actually managing permissions and role-based access. So right now we're working on both things. In terms of the actual timeline, definitely sometime later on this year, like definitely not months and months. We're honestly talking to so many different people, some of which are represented in this meeting, and some of which are just not here today, but also in the community, trying to figure out what people need and how we can build something that fits that broad diversity of interest, or at least build something that's really easy to be built on to fulfill those interests. So in terms of timeline, next couple of weeks to months, or next couple of weeks, you should definitely start to be hearing more about it as we just start to try and synthesize everything we've learned and talk to the community about an approach. And then hopefully not too long after that for something to actually be rolled out. Hopefully that answers your question. And I guess you can't tell me if it doesn't, but you're welcome to find me on Discord or GitHub or anywhere else, and we can talk about it.
Nicely done. Great. Thank you, Austin. I'm going to ask the question first up before we jump into the question. Punit, are you here with us today?
Yeah, I'm. So my question is regarding TechDocs search. I think a couple of people already mentioned about the searching in TechDocs. So our biggest motivation to moving to TechDocs is so that we can search across the different repository docs, different project docs. Is there any plan to have a global search for all the documentation, all the TechDocs?
That's it. I think we've got that, haven't we? Emma, can you confirm, or?
Yeah, sure.
Or Eric?
Yeah, we have a TechDocs collator contributed, which collects all TechDocs indices to index to whatever search engine you decide to use. And then also this TechDocs in context search that's contributed by Jussi, who was the spotlight this time, which means that you can search inside a specific TechDocs site. So it's scoped to a specific one, and then on global search you can search for across all sites. And maybe someone in the team, Eric, if you're here, can point to any documentation. I know we're a little bit late on documentation on the new TechDocs stuff for search. But you need to register the collator at least. Maybe we can, I will send in the chat.
Sure. Actually, we tried to implement TechDocs in one of our applications, but it is not working as we thought. And we also tried to see how the Backstage demo is working, but the TechDocs is not working there. So I thought that might be some bug or something that we haven't implemented it correctly. So if you can give some documentation, some help, that I appreciate that.
Stand by for links in the chat, I think. I think there is also an ongoing bug that there is a fix for that should be released with the next release tomorrow. So check out the chat, and if you miss it in the chat, check us out in Discord.
And also, thanks for pointing the demo site out. I think search is not, the latest versions of search is not actually updated there. So that's probably something we should put on our to-do list. So thanks for reminding us of that.
Yeah, no problem. Where is the link? So this is the pull request. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, great stuff. And then with our last few minutes, you say, I don't know if there's enough time, but I'm going to throw it over to you. And I believe you wanted to talk about this PR that you've got here. Oh, not that one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one as well. That's fine. Yeah, let me continue right the high of the spotlight here a little bit. We as Rody, we kind of got some questions from our customers that, okay, what do we want, or what do they want on Backstage and stuff like that. And one of the items that they saw on Backstage IO was Tech Insights, and that was one of the items that they kind of wanted to actually have in Backstage as well. That combined with the most upvoted issues on the Backstage repo, there is number 2 and number 4 are talking about the same thing. So Tech Insights, or I think it's called Scorecards, the other issue. That is the component scoring plugin. That is more or less the same thing. That then ended up us having discussions with the wider Spotify team, how they have actually implemented the Tech Insight stuff and how can we port it over to the open source side. With those, or after those fruitful discussions, we kind of had a rough plan how we want to approach this. So that ended up into this pull request for comments. I wrote this quickly while waiting for the cashier at the grocery store. Do the tilling stuff on my phone, so it's not that long if you scroll down. But it would be nice to have the wider community take a peek at this one and see if that would kind of match your use cases when it comes to Tech Insights. If we think about Tech Insights, it's essentially reporting or metrics out of your components, right? And one of the open source things is the difficulty in there is to gather data in a generic way that is then usable across other open source adopters and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that this kind of thing is now open here, and comments about approaches, nomenclature, and if the use cases that your company as an adopter would want in here is covered or not would be very helpful to see how we want to drive this forward.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing, dude. And just to kind of put it out there, so this is pull 7193 for those that are interested in going to take a look at it. I'm going to quickly stop sharing my screen just so I can see the chat, see if there's any thoughts or questions.
Hey, can you hear me? We have a couple of maintainer updates. And Patrick and Fabian and Jan and Ben, if you want to quickly share them. Sorry.
Yes, we have, absolutely. We have some updates. I can start. So this week we have been working on adding entity refreshes to the catalog. So basically, very soon, once the PRs are merged, there will be ability to trigger refreshes of individual entities. So on the About card, for example, there will be a refresh button, and also in the catalog import plugin, there will also be a refresh option available. Yes, I think that's it from me. Patrick, you have some updates as well.
Yes, I can do quick update. We finally have an API reference. Can send a link to that in chat, not bother with screen sharing, but we finally have a place to go if you're just wondering what an API looks like in a package. If you wonder what the options are to create app or what the properties are for the info card component. It's very much a work in progress, partly because we haven't had a proper API reference. The documentation on a lot of the APIs needs work. So coupled with that, we also have a kind of just help wanted issue. We will, of course, be working to improve our documentation as much as possible, our kind of the reference documentation. But there's also help wanted. There is also a guide. We have a particular documentation system that helps generate documentation for us. It can be a bit picky, and it has its way of showing things. So there's a guide for how to write documentation that ends up looking neat on the microsite. And that's it.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so before we wrap up, a couple of just a refresh, the survey link. I hope we can post it back into chat again that we were discussing earlier about how we can improve the content that we want to share around Backstage and help solve for organizations. If you have the time, it'd be much appreciated. Please do take a look. Also, the usual feedback form for the community sessions. We really want to improve these. We want to make them better. The contributor and the adopter sessions that we're starting from next month all came from this community. So really appreciate it if you have any feedback on how we can make it better. Please do take a look and subscribe at the calendar to get the latest of when those events are happening. And lastly, if you ask from us, if you have adopted Spotify and if you're able, please do add yourself to the adopters list in the project. Thank you to Expedia. Thank you to FireHydrant and for the GitLab plugin demos. It's been awesome to see what everybody's doing. Take care. Have a good day, evening, wherever you are right now. Thank you, everybody.